Good evening. Welcome back to Answers on Eschatology. My name is Dan Derry, and I'm the president of the Institute of Fulfilled Eschatology. Hey, we're in the middle of a study of Matthew 16, 27, and 28. And what I want to do in this video, based upon a theme found within Daniel 7, is to eliminate and falsify all futurist paradigms concerning the coming of the Son of Man in Matthew 16, 27, and 28. Now, we want to look at the theme of the time, and a half a time. And here's my argument. Matthew 16, 27, and 28 would be in fulfillment of the coming of the Son of Man in Daniel 7. But the coming of the Son of Man in Daniel 7 takes place following the persecution of the saints for a time, and a half a time. Therefore, the coming of the Son of Man in Matthew 16, 27, and 28 in fulfillment of Daniel 7 must take place following the persecution of the saints for a time, and a half a time. Okay? Now watch this. According to John in Revelation 13, that time, and a half a time persecution of the saints was not yet fulfilled when John wrote Revelation. What that means is that the coming of the Son of Man in both Daniel 7 and Matthew 16 could not have been fulfilled prior to the time John wrote Revelation, because that coming of the Son of Man would only take place following the persecution of the saints for a time, half a time. Now, to demonstrate this and to prove this, beyond any refutation, let's do a comparative study of Daniel 7 and Revelation 13 concerning the time, and a half a time. And by the way, I will upload this chart that I'm going to read from in PDF on my website attached to this study, so you'll be able to get an illustration of exactly what we're saying. Watch this. Watch these parallels. Daniel 7 verse 3, we have 4 beasts coming up out of the sea. Revelation 13 verse 1, we have a beast coming up out of the sea. Daniel 7 verse 7, this beast has 10 horns. Revelation 13, the beast has 10 horns. Daniel 7 verse 11, 20, and 25, this little horn of the beast speaks boastful words and blasphemes God. In Revelation 13, this beast speaks blasphemies against God, and that's Revelation 13, 5, and 6. In Daniel 7, verses 21 to 25, this little horn makes war and overpowers the saints for a time, and a half a time. Revelation 13, 5 through 7, this beast makes war and overpowers the saints for time, and a half a time. Listen, John's beast in Revelation 13 is Daniel's little horn in Daniel 7. And they both persecute the same saints for the same time, and a half a time. They are talking about the same events at the same time. But here's what's powerful. Revelation 13, according to John, was not yet fulfilled when he wrote the book. He wrote of things that were to soon take place, that were shortly to come to pass. That means that in John's day, when he wrote the book, approximately 62 to 64 AD, the persecution of the saints for time, and a half a time had not yet taken place. But that's important because the coming of the Son of Man in both Daniel 7 and Matthew 16 would only take place following the persecution of the saints for a time, and a half a time. That means the coming of the Son of Man in Matthew 16, 27, 28, and Daniel 7 could not and was not fulfilled prior to the time that John wrote the book of Revelation. That is undeniable. And what that does is that proves all futurist paradigms and all futurist interpretations of Matthew 16, 27, and 28 to be completely false. Any futurist eschatology that places the fulfillment of the coming of the Son of Man of Matthew 16 and Daniel 7 at either the Transfiguration, the Ascension, or the day of Pentecost are completely false. Why? Because that coming of the Son of Man only takes place following the persecution of the saints for a time, and a half a time. But according to John, when he wrote the book, that persecution of those saints for a time, and a half a time had not yet taken place. This is powerful stuff. This means that Daniel 7 and Matthew 16, 27 and 28, concerning the coming of the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven to establish his kingdom, was not fulfilled in any event prior to the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. And what it does, it allows us who hold to a paradigm of fulfilled eschatology to actually compare Scripture with Scripture and understand when this event takes place. And as we'll see next, according to the time and a half a time in Daniel 7, the coming of the Son of Man takes place at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. And we'll see that by another comparative study of Daniel 7 and Daniel 12 concerning the coming of the Son of Man, the destruction of Jerusalem, and the persecution of the saints for a time and a half a time. And we'll get to that next time on Answers on Eschatology. Bye for now. We'll see you soon.